Then something happened they weren't expecting. Athletes started taking this. And so they did some athletic studies. They did VO2 max and time taken to reach ventilatory threshold. VO2 max is the amount of oxygen you can assimilate in your body to keep your muscles going at 100%. If you're an athlete, your muscles can outperform your oxygen intake and you reach something called ventilatory threshold. It's where you hit the runner's wall. You've got to stop completely or slow down drastically to let your oxygen catch up before you can continue competing. Well, they did these studies, and after just 2 weeks on ASEA, athletes on average boosted their VO2 max by 3% and their time taken to reach ventilatory threshold by 12%. Well, what's 3% VO2 max? It's been said that the difference between first place and 50th place in the Tour de France is about 1 to 2% VO2 max. This boosted by 3% in just 2 weeks, and it's legal. It's completely legal. That 12% ventilatory threshold, what that means is these athletes could go 12% harder, 12% longer in just 2 weeks. Gains like that among top athletes take months and sometimes years to accomplish. It happens in 2 weeks on ASEA. So they did some metabolomic studies on ASEA. What they found out is within 30 minutes of ingesting ASEA, your body starts to mobilize fat from your abdomen that goes out into your bloodstream as medium-chain free fatty acids. These free fatty acids can be used as a fuel source. Now, the exciting thing about that is when you're on ASEA, you begin to burn fat as a fuel source first. Fat burns and produces ATP about 6 to 8 times more efficiently than muscle glycogen or stored glucose. So now all of a sudden when you're burning fat, you've got this abundant source of ATP to fuel your muscles. Well, the other thing that's exciting about it is when you burn fat, it also doesn't produce lactic acid. Anybody ever heard of lactic acid? That's what makes your muscles burn. That's what builds up in your muscles and makes you sore the next day. So now all of a sudden as athletes, you've got this abundant supply of ATP with no lactic acid production, so you recover quicker. Well, with this abundant supply of ATP, guess what the most energy demanding thing you do is? Any guesses? It's heal. What was your energy level like the last time you were really sick? Most people say, oh, I could barely get out of bed. The reason that is all of your ATP was being used to detect, repair, and replace damaged cells. You had none left over to fuel your muscles because repairing those cells took priority over your muscles. So imagine now when you're burning fat as a fuel source, producing 6 to 8 times the amount of ATP, your ability to fuel that healing process. Now take that a step further. What happens if you take this when you're not sick? Now all of a sudden you've got this amazing source of ATP to fuel your muscles. A fuel source that doesn't produce lactic acid, and that's why athletes are seeing such incredible results in endurance and such incredible results in recovery time. So they did a study on mice. They took mice, put them on little mice treadmills and ran them to exhaustion and measured how far they could run. The next thing they did is they split them up into 2 groups. Half of them they put on ASEA and half of them they put on a placebo in a double-blinded study. The placebo they used, we're going to talk about for just a minute. What they used was salt and water at the same concentration as ASEA.